This episode is brought to you by Anivia Pickleball, your premier destination for high-quality pickleball pals designed to elevate your game. At Anivia, they are committed to providing players across Canada with innovative, performance-driven pickleball paddles crafted for durability, precision, and ease of play. Irene and myself are currently using their Gen 3 Pro paddle, and if you head over to Anivia.com and enter the code AGorman15, you get 15% off your order. That's AGorman15 at Anivia.com. All right, on with the show. Hey everyone, Andrew here from the Pickleball Diaries podcast. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit like and hit subscribe down below. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes or any other podcasting network, make sure you give us a 5-star review at the end of the episode. It only takes a couple seconds of your time. It just really helps us out in the algorithm so we can keep bringing you this awesome content. All right, back to the episode. Thank you guys. All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Pickleball Diaries podcast. We just came off the weekend where we had the CNPL Eastern splits. Of course, I was busy spending time with the family for anniversary weekend. Vic, of course, was reffing. How was your weekend, Vic, before you got to watch the games?
Yeah, well, pretty good. I was at the Leduc 55 plus fundraising tournament. I was refereeing and doing also some referee evaluation over there. It went well. Little windy on Saturday. It was not even a playing condition. Like it was like 50 plus K gust wind. It was like crazy. I was like, what is going on? And then Sunday is like total different condition. Everything was like dead calm. So it was like, what is going on? But anyway, it is what it is.
Great. Yeah, so I got to watch some of the Sunday games live, and then of course I PVR, but then also everything was streamed on YouTube, so I was able to go back and watch that stuff as well. Before we get into the actual tournament, just before the event, just before the event started, the CNPL announced that they partnered with Trema Cafe, which is a Quebec-based ready-to-drink cafe brand. And they were actually at the tournament providing free samples and stuff for everyone in attendance. So let us know in the comments if you guys really liked the cafe drinks, because hey, we can all use that when we're playing, because some of those days are long.
Yeah, definitely. I saw some of the footage. Looks yummy, but someone needs to tell us actually it is real or not. Maybe maybe Emily can tell us that.
Yeah, either that, or if Royal Westcourt ends up hosting the championship weekend, because we still don't know where championship weekend's going to be. Maybe they'll fly us out and we'll get to try it then. Fingers crossed. I'm going to will that into existence like every episode, right? All right, so Eastern Split was last weekend, the June 7th and 8th, at the Royal Westcourt Social Club in Quebec. It was on Game Plus, and then they did the thing. They did the right thing where they also, at the same time, had it on YouTube as well for people who didn't have access to Game Plus. And I took a quick glance, because I did PVR the Game Plus stuff, because I wasn't sure originally if it was going to be on YouTube. The only real difference is if you were watching the YouTube channel, you missed the Game Plus commercials. So there was like a couple seconds here and there every now and then of like dead air, where you were just seeing like a feed of the court. And the broadcasters weren't talking, but that's because they knew that the Game Plus commercials were on. So aside from that, the streams were pretty much identical. I looked a lot more polished this time. I know there was one spot where there was a little bit of it was a little bit glitchy, and I think it was just something with the Wi-Fi or whatever there. But I honestly, I saw people's comments on it. I didn't see the specific point in what game it was where it happened, so I missed it. So for me, I didn't even notice it. but very polished. I didn't see any. There was no like voice delays on the broadcasters. All the camera angles were working really well. So you had your full court angles, you had your multi-camera angles, which were all good. The commentators were coming in loud and clear. They had multiple people on. Sarah McGinnis was kind of the main person doing most of the games, but then she was joined by a variety of other people. You had some players come on. You had some members of I think the Royal West Court were there, or at least members of like the pickball community in Quebec, and you actually got a bilingual broadcast for a fair bit there, which was really cool. Other than that, yeah, like the shots looked good. The Royal West Court actually looked really good, especially as far as like in the court area fan seating. There was multiple seats on the one side. There was bleachers on the one side, and they were full almost the entire weekend. So it was awesome turnout there. The only slight thing I had on the court itself is that the sides could have been a little bit wider. They were still like for regular tournament wise, they were still pretty good. But if you're talking pro level, they could have probably used a little like 3 more feet on the wide, but on the ends they were fine, plenty of room there. But just if you're looking for wide ATPs, obviously that option wasn't there. But
actually, another thing I noticed is the height of this facility. I saw a few ball actually hit the ceiling, unfortunately, and they doesn't look like a big blatant massive lob. It was just like a more normal defensive lob, and they just hit the ceiling a couple of times.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Actually, yeah, I did hear the commentators talk about that once where it hit the ceiling. So, yeah, I'm curious to know how tall it was because I've played in like a really low roof area before when I played in a tournament in GP because it was just in like they were like taped courts and it was just in like a social kind of house. So the ceiling wasn't very high. Same thing when Irene played down in Okotoks. The ceiling's not very high there type of thing. So it's one of those things where as long as you've come in and practiced in the facility, a lot of times, especially for pro players, it's not as big an effect, but every now and then you see them slightly forget, and then they go to do that high lob, and then it's an out ball. So it's one of those ones where it's an issue, but I don't consider it as big of an issue as it could have been, as long as it's not like super, super low. Like if I can jump and touch the ceiling, it's too low, right? But obviously, it looked at least semi-decent height, but obviously probably a little bit too short. But other than that, like the facility looked really nice. Like I said, you could hear the fans through the speakers, which was awesome, applauding for big plays and stuff like that. And it looked like they had a good turnout the entire weekend from the early game all the way to the final game on Sunday. So.
Well, they have a great pricing too, right? So the tickets were $5 if you buy it in advance, or $10 at the door, which is very reasonable. I think that was able to draw a lot of people to come in, right? You like, let's say I just have time for two matches. Okay, $5. Okay, whatever. I'll just pay for it and come in, rather than sometimes like it's a little bit more expensive. You're like, oh, I don't have that much time to watch all the matches. Why am I paying? Like, I'm just giving number like $50, or like, why am I coming for $50 if I can't watch all the games? But now it's like $5. Whatever, I'll just pay it.
Oh yeah, exactly right. Like it makes it that much more accessible, and especially in a league where we're trying to promote and grow the popularity of it. Right. And one of the best ways, especially, and we say this all the time because the camera slows the ball down, just because of how the camera is not as good as cameras have gotten. They're not as good as the human eye. Yeah. So it makes the ball look slower on screen, right? So the moment you see it in person and watching that pro game at that speed, it just makes it so much more entertaining. So, and then that's when people are it's like when they watched it there, okay, now I'm gonna tune in on the YouTube or on Game Plus for the event that's not in my area and watch there, and then you just build up that fan base, right? So shout out to everyone in the area at the Royal West Court for showing up and cheering on the players and stuff. That was a great turnout. And then before we get into the games, you noticed, Vic, that a couple players had changed paddles before the event started?
Yeah, definitely. Eugene switched his paddle to a Yola Agassi Pro 4, which is Gen 3 paddle. It's pretty poppy paddle. The Agassi shape is obviously a little different. Is still elongated shape, but it's like how it has a little bit more taper on the corners of the paddle. Little questioning why Eugene changed for this paddle, because we have this discussion. Eugene is actually more like a crafty player, and at the Agassi Pro paddle is actually very poppy. So I feel like the poppy might actually take out his craftiness into his game. But I would say in the mixed double, that paddle definitely will help him a lot, because that pull away power is definitely gonna be off the chart with his power. So we'll see if he continues be sticking with this paddle. Another player actually changed paddle is Stevie from the Montreal Lions. It's not huge change, but still was a change. So she switched from the Paddletech Bantam series to the Pro XR Prototype two paddles. Technically, the Pro XR Prototype paddle is we call a knockoff Paddletech Bantam series paddle, but it was kind of a little interesting. She makes that switch, because we'll get into it into the performance. I felt like she was a little struggling on getting used to this paddle. Anyway, that was my impression.
Yeah. But yeah, and we did notice a little bit there was a couple players who didn't have as great of weekends as like they had at the previous event. But one, this is all these teams playing each other for the first time, because of course they didn't play each other in the central split, so it's figuring stuff out. But yeah, I noticed like especially the first game or two, Stevie was having some issues. She seemed to have figured it out by the end of the event. Another player I noticed, Max Wild from Toronto United, seemed to be having I don't know if it was tired, but he just seemed to be moving a little bit slower, because it seemed he was having to reach a fair bit more throughout the event. And then, of course, we'll address this right now. Ernesto from the Lions got food poisoning on the Saturday night. So if you watched any of his games on Sunday, you could see he was clearly sluggish, and he had to take a really long medical timeout on their final game against the Smash. Obviously dealing with that. As someone who's gotten food poisoning, that is not a fun time. So I'm just giving Ernesto props for even trying to play through that. I know Charles, their reserve player, I can't remember what the reasoning was, but he wasn't able to play on the Sunday, and I'm pretty sure if he was able, they probably would have subbed him in at least for one or two of those games. So, but yeah, so we'll kind of go over like day one. So day one, the Lions went 2-1. Now they did lose. Their very first loss came in the very first game of the event to the Southwestern Ontario Brewers. And I'm going to give a big shout out to the Brewers here. They just played a very, very good game. Lost the women's one, won the men's one in a tight game. And then like Anna and Ernesto won their mix against Mark and Ava, but then Eugene and Amanda came in and won a really tight 21-20 game against Luis, Charles, and Stevie. And then the Brewers ended up winning the tiebreaker 21-16. That match to start off the entire event was just a really, really good match all around. Like the biggest blowout was a 21-16 match, and it was still stupid close the entire time. And actually, if you were watching the broadcast from the get-go on Saturday, the first three matches all went to a tiebreaker. We didn't get a definitive win in regular games until the fourth game. Second game was Toronto United versus the Smash. Toronto United pulls out the tiebreaker win on that one. The funny thing was with this one was it was a good to even force the tiebreaker. It was a good comeback win for Max and Johnson, who made his debut for Toronto United because he missed the Eastern split. Johnson Han. Yeah, him and Max were down. I want to say they were down like 20-17, 2016, and then came back, forced the tie, won 21-20, and then they went on to take the tiebreaker 21-17. So Toronto United started off on a good foot with that. And then the third one that went to a Dreambreaker, Toronto United in it again against the Brewers. So both Toronto United and Brewers for their first two games went to those tiebreakers. This time the Brewers beat the Toronto United team 21-14. So a little bit more lopsided in the singles, but I thought the Brewers did a good job with their matchups in the tiebreaker, getting probably the best advantage they could with that one. And Kyle Hermetz came in for that one and played very, very well with Mark, and then him and Ava, of course, getting the mixed win against Sneha and Johnson to force the tie break at the end there. So like I said, right off the hop, those first three matches, very, very good. That was the second match, and then the
second mix. The first mix was Mark and Amanda versus Matt and Jody.
Oh, wait, was it four tiebreakers right off the hop? Yeah, actually it was.
Yeah, there's four.
Not three, four. Sorry, and then you had the Smash versus the Lions, which was kind of
tiebreaker. Sorry, tiebreaker.
Yeah, tiebreakers. Yeah, and then and then Smash versus Lions actually. Went to tiebreakers also. Actually, the first four matches went to tiebreakers. So just starting off on fire this event. So if you haven't watched any of these games, it's on the CNPL YouTube, and these games were all super, super good. The only now this one, it was funny because it was kind of like the Smash kind of blew out the women on the women's side with Jess and Stella beating Ann and Stevie 21-12. But then Ernesto and LC come back and take out Preston and Ryan 21-12. So then you're tied 1-1. And then Jess and Ryan beat Ernesto and Sophie 21-19. And then LC and Stevie win 21-12 against Preston and Stella. And then it goes, of course, to the tie break, and then it's 21-17 for the Lions. So even that was super close, right? So like starting off with a bang, this event, then you finally get to Smash versus Brewers, and you finally have your first like decisive win with the Smash winning 3-1. After that, those first two wins by the Brewers, they didn't win again at this tournament. So they went 2-1 the first day, but then went 0-3 the second day. Now, and the win-loss is a little deceiving because they had a lot of chances to win, not necessarily the entire series, but win some of those games. There's a couple of times where they were up 20 to like say 18 or 20 to 16.
You can also look at some of them. I'm just going on the second day. So you have the Brewers 19-21 against the Lions on the first match for the men's, and then you have again the Smash, which they blew them 4-0. But the problem is, you see that Jess and Stella beat Tara and Amanda 21-20. Preston Ryan beat Eugene and Mark 21-20 again. So it means they probably someone couldn't finish him off. And then again in Toronto United against Brewers, Matt and Johnson beat Mark and Kyle 21-20. So it plays in your head. It definitely plays in your head.
It was like they would get to that 20 or get to that 19, and they just couldn't get that final point. Like there was a couple there like that we watched, or that I watched, where it was like, okay, here the Brewers are going to get one here, and now it's going to be either 2-1 or it's going to be 1-1, and then the other team would just go on a run. And then they side each other out back and forth, and then the other team would just score that final point, right? So, the getting swept 3 times in a row on the Sunday, like when you just look at it like that looks bad. But when you look at the games themselves, it was super, super, super close. So it's just the Brewers now finding that, getting that ability to kind of just get over that hump.
Yeah.
Because whether you go to the tiebreaker or whether you pull out, because easily some of those games could have been 3-1 Brewers. Yeah, right. If they had pulled out a couple of those matches. So it's not what I would call panic time, because they are finishing with a total record now of 4-8, right? So not a great record after the event, but they're so close on so many of those games that now it's just getting over that hump, finishing off that finishing off some of those matches, and then they could easily have been like kind of like with what Toronto United finished with, like a 6-6 record type
Yeah,
of thing, right?
definitely.
So
It's just maybe figure out what you're gonna do when you're up on 20, or maybe you throw in a stack, or you play more aggressive, whatever.
yeah, exactly, right. So and then we'll move on to Toronto United. So Toronto United, this was interesting because you had Johnson coming in and making his debut. They actually split all of the games even amongst all 6 players. So each guy played 4 games, each female played 4 games. Right now, I understand this was kind of like what Northern Lights did at the last event, where they were just kind of mixing and matching everyone to see who kind of played well. The
Hmm.
problem with Toronto United doing this is that, in my opinion, at least, you already had some team ups that worked really, really well, and they didn't really use some of them until like the last match of the event, right? Because like
Hmm.
they won their, I think it was their first game, and then they didn't win again until their very last game against the Brewers,
Yes,
right?
indeed.
And and that game, at least for like their mixed lineup, that was where you saw, like, I don't know why, but the entire tournament they didn't team Sneha with Matt until that last
That's
match.
just the very last match.
And like, so and we already said, like, when we watched them play at the
Well,
last
second match,
event.
second last with Max and Sneha against Toronto Lions. That's where they have Max and Sneha.
Yeah, no, Matt, sorry, not Max,
Oh, Matt. Oh,
Matt.
okay. Sorry,
Yeah,
Matt Kawamoto. Yep.
yeah. So yeah, we're gonna run into that problem so many times where we're
No,
just
no, that's
off the
okay.
tongue, right?
I'm here to correct you.
Yeah. But no, yeah. So it's interesting. So yeah, so they finished with a 2-4 record. So now they're 6-6 overall, which is not bad. But because of that, now the Smash have leapfrogged them into second place, and of course the West split is still yet to be played, and the Vancouver Owls have a very decent chance of at least leapfrogging them as well, right?
Mhm.
So, and one of the other teams in the West split as well has that chance, because they all finished, because all the other teams in there finished with a 2-4 record. So all it takes is for one of them to go on a decent run and jump them, right? So I think what I would like to see at their next split that they play in at the Metro, is solidifying your lineups. My honest opinion, if Jada is in, she should be. If for mix now, if she's playing mix, she should be playing with Max. I don't know why, but her and Matt, it doesn't seem to. It's not as consistent as when she plays with Max. And same thing if and so if you're doing Jada and whether it's Jordy or Sneha with Matt, it doesn't matter. Both Jordy and Sneha play a very, very similar game. They're
Yeah.
very reliable. They're very consistent. They're very good counterpunchers.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I think Matt needs that as his. I think it works better with Matt as a female partner, because Jada is more of the, I'm going to drive and I'm going to speed up and I'm going to use my two-handed backhand to create problems for the other team, right? And I don't know why, but for some reason when she plays with Matt, it doesn't seem to work as well. Because I know there was one match there where her and Matt played together, and it didn't vote that
I
well.
I, I think
I'm
there's a
trying to find. Yeah, they lost.
re
They played Jess and Ryan, and they lost 21-7.
I think there's a reason too. I watched a couple of match. I didn't watch this one specifically, but I watched the others. So, Jada is very good on her two-handed backhand, especially when she's at the net, using that two-hand backhand speed up. But usually when you're playing mix, you are not you utilizing that, but it's more as a counter punch, or kind of a reset kind of thing, because you want the male be able to take that center to kind of overpower your opponent. However, Matt, obviously, sorry, Matt, he's not as tall as Max. And you're like, then this is the thing. The reach of, like, not saying like his footwork is lightning fast, but still the reach of Matt Caraboto is not as big as Max can get. So now Jada's a little bit confused. Am I supposed to take all that middle shot that I have by power two hand backhand, or am I leaving that to Matt to take that? And then there's like kind of a lot of those confusion kind of set in, versus when she plays with Max, she knows I'm just gonna sit there and sit on my right hand side. I know Max gonna jump over the place or over the place for like the rest of the court kind of thing, I think.
Yeah, and then of course when Jordy and Sneha are playing with Matt, because they're already more of a what I would call a reset defensive mindset type of player. For them, they don't worry about that. They're just paddle in position. Okay, if Matt takes it, he takes it. If he doesn't take it, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just like it's the mindset. Whereas Jada, I want to say, is a little bit more power minded. It's
Yeah,
not.
she's more aggressive. So when
Yeah,
she usually have, let's say, a ball on her backhand, she's like, I'm gonna attack that, right?
yeah,
But and probably that throw off Matt Kawamoto, because like, oh, the female usually won't do that. And it's like, oh, I need to start hand battling. Versus with Max, he's like, he's a very offensive person, so it's like, yeah, it's fine. I'll just play that hand battle game right off the hop. So it's kind of a little clash in their play style.
yeah. Right. So like, yeah. So for the next split for Toronto United, Metro coming up in September, I believe. I want to see the lines a little bit more solidified. Like I said, the women are really good.
Toronto United.
What did I say?
You say Lions.
Oh, sorry, Toronto United. I'm tired. Anyways,
you see that? I'm here to correct.
It's really smoky here in Peace River from all the fires, and I've had a headache for like 2 days because of my asthma with the smoke coming in. But anyways, so yeah, for Toronto United, I just want to see the lines a little bit more solidified. Like Johnson played really, really well. Max, yeah, I'll say Max had a little bit of an off tournament. But we know Max can play really well. We saw how well he played in the central split, right? So I'm not too worried about Max. He's going to be able to bounce back. So let's say if you're going to go Max and Matt to start the first event, whether it's Jordy or Sneha going in with Jada, if Jada's going in, she should be playing with Max, and whether it's Sneha or Jordy, they should be playing with Matt. I just think it complements better. Definitely. Now, if you're putting both Jordy and Sneha in, the nice thing is because they kind of play the same way, they can play with either. I think Jordy plays a little bit better with Max, and especially if Matt's going to be in there. I think Sneha and Matt have that built-in chemistry from last year, and I think they just perform better together. So I would stick Jordy with Max then. Now, if Johnson's coming in because he's left-handed, to be honest, I thought Johnson played better with Matt than he did with Max. I think Matt, because he's played with lefties before in this league, he's more used to that, where it looked like Max and Johnson were having a little bit of communication problems, especially with balls in the middle, because both forehands are there.
Yeah.
Right? So if I was going to sub Johnson, I'd probably sub him in for Max, have him play with Matt, because Matt played with Mark Gottfried for 2 years, so he's used to playing with a lefty.
Yeah.
Right? So, and then same thing, I would put Matt with either Jordy or Sneha. If you're having both Jordy or Sneha, I would still stick Sneha with Matt. Sneha should be staple to Matt just because that's such a good teaming. And honestly, if I'm looking at the stats right now, Sneha is the most consistent player on Toronto United through 2 events. Like when I look at the stats here, so she out of oh my god, my buttons don't want to work. So I'll pull up my season totals here, not just the Eastern split. Okay, so for example, if we're looking at all the players, so Max has played, we're saying 20 matches, so basically 10 out of a possible 12, right? Matt's played 10 out of a possible 12. Sneha's only played, so when I say 20, that's because you're counting the mixed and the and the regular doubles. Okay, so Max has played 20. Matt has played 20. Sneha, Jada, and Jordan have all played 16 because, of course, they've traded it up. If you're looking at win percentage, out of all of Toronto United, Sneha has the highest at 68%. So she's played 16 matches and she's won 11 of them.
Okay. Wow.
Right. So she's the next closest person to her is Jordy. Jordy's at 62, so she's won 10 of 16. Right. And then the only other person over the only two other people who are over 50% or over like a high 50%. Matt is sitting at 55 on the dot. And then Johnson, he's only played 8 games or 8 total matches, but he's at a 62% win rate.
Okay.
Right. So right now, if you're looking at stats and also from the eye test that I've seen, I think Sneha should be playing every game. Right. And staple her to Matt. Right.
Well, yes,
for the mix. Right. Her and Jordy play well together. Her and Jada play well together. That's what the compliment we've given this Toronto United team. The women, it doesn't matter who you have on the floor for the women's team. They are a good team regardless. It all depends on what you want to counter punch the other team with. Right. But if I'm going off of win percentage and performance, Sneha is now basically your number one female. Like I said, highest win percentage on the team. So, okay, so if you're putting Jordy in, you're going for, counter punch, and we're going to try and counteract the other team. If you're putting Jada in, now you have the combination of a power driver and the counter puncher with Sneha. Regardless of who's playing with Matt, whether it's Max or Johnson, Sneha should be stapled to Matt, and Jada or Jordy should be playing with either Max or Johnson on the team. That, from the eye test and looking at stats, is what I would say for Toronto United. That is your ideal lineup.
Yeah,
at least as far as what each player has accomplished so far. Moving on to we're gonna go with the Smash here first. So they went 4-2. They probably should have went 5-1, if not 6-0. Jessica Kawamoto, standout player of the entire event. She played every match, so that's a 12 possible games. She won 11 of them.
Wow.
Right, so she went 11-1. Her only loss was in a women's. So her and Ryan also went 6-0 because she was teamed with Ryan the entire time, reestablishing the fact they were the best mixed team last year, and it showed this event.
Yeah, which we're not surprised. We kind of deal right away, right?
Yeah, we're not surprised. Even when the matches are close, they don't panic. They execute their shots. They play really well. Jessa played in women's with both Stella and Serena. Pretty much won everything. So yeah, Jess was the standout player for me for the event. And as far as the Smash, both of their losses came in tiebreak matches on day one. And honestly, at least one of those ones, the game against the Lions, I kind of give a pass for, because that was literally like two powerhouses basically going haymaker for haymaker type of deal, right? So then that one didn't surprise me that it went to a tiebreak.
True. Yeah.
But the game against I want to say it was who? Toronto United? No. Who did they lose?
Let's take a look.
Oh no, it was Toronto United.
Yeah, Toronto United on the first day.
Yeah, so the game against Toronto United, they were up 2-1 leading into that final mix match. Oh no, sorry, it wasn't even a final mix match. It was a final men's match because they did the mixed matches first. So they they were 1-1 after the mix, and then Jess and Serena went in and won 21-20. And Toronto and the London Smash were actually up. I want to say it was like 20-16 or 17.
Yes, something like that
against Max and Johnson, and couldn't finish. And this is a shout out to Max and Johnson too for executing and fighting their way back into that match and getting the win. But when you're up by that many at the freeze, you should not be losing that. And this and I'm not calling out Preston alone in this because it's Preston and Ryan playing together, but I did notice this event, especially in that match against Toronto United. I don't know if Johnson is a very quiet trash talker or something, or if it was just trying to read his shots. But Preston seemed to get agitated very easily by how Johnson was playing, and it affected his play.
Yeah,
I thought it affected his
big
play. Like
time.
he seemed to get a little angry, and then all of a sudden it's almost like when you get angry, you try to do too much.
Well, Preston actually got a technical warning by throwing his paddle.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I like if Johnson is a trash talker, he's got to be like almost like closed mouth and like it's like he's throwing his voice, like ventriloquism type of thing, because it did not look like he said anything the entire term. He's like Brad Chapman level of like stone face, no reaction whatsoever, right? But in that match especially, and in the other loss, I thought, and actually throughout a few matches in the tournament, I thought Preston kind of let his emotions get the better of him a couple times,
Yes,
and
I
it did,
agree.
and it if not necessarily, it didn't necessarily cost them the match every time, but it did cost them a couple of points. It would take a second for him to cool down, right? And even looking at if I pull up the stats again for the Eastern split. For those of you wondering, I do my own stats for this. I use CNPL stats as well, but I sit here and actually have my own little stat sheet because
Andrew actually has a better stat than CNPL. So
I don't know about better. I won't go that far to say it's better, but I look at certain.
I can attest to that.
There's
my honest opinion.
Yeah,
there you go.
There's is more what you would call fan friendly. I'm going into the weeds of some stuff when I'm looking at some of the stats, right? So once again, we'll say, if we go with the stats, so we know that Jess, Ryan, and Preston played every single game. So that's a 12 total matches, right? Jess went 11 for 12, so Jess is 91% win rate. Ryan went 10 for 12, 83% win rate. Preston went 7 for 12, 58% win rate, right? That's a big drop. Especially when your other two starters are winning at that higher percentage. So like I said, and then you have Serena and Stella. So Serena played 2 games, Stella played 4, right? Stella went 75% win rate, Serena went 50% win rate. So that was the one loss for Jess, was mixed playing with Serena, right? And then so we know Stella didn't lose a women's match. So that means their other losses came when they were playing with Preston.
Yeah.
Right now, like I said, we're not just calling out Preston because, of course, Stella and Serena take some accountability for that too. And also Ryan takes accountability for the ones he lost with Preston. However, when it can be visually seen that he's getting upset and getting emotional, when he played at the Central Split, I was like, holy crap, is he locked in? Like, yeah, he does some emotional like yells and stuff, but it seemed like he was getting frustrated a lot easier this time.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe I'm just checking. Maybe he got tired or anything. Did he play before? Yeah, you continue to talk. I'll look it up.
Well, see, and like I know Vic's looking up the thing. Okay, did he play before? But I don't want to use this as an excuse because I'm sorry, you guys are professional players. Right, like if we're gonna start playing that game, then it's like, okay, what do you need to, like, if you played in the tournament the weekends before, because all the tournaments are on the weekends. It's not like he was playing in a tournament Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday leading up to this event, right? Because even if he played in a tournament and he played championship weekend, he's playing on Sunday. So that is still a full Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before you play another pro match, right? Whether you're doing drilling and stuff or not, that still is for me is plenty of time to recuperate.
Doesn't seems like it. He only played at that PPA Challenger, which is in May.
Right. So, but yeah, and like I said, and that goes the same thing for like Max, and same thing for like when, like we said, Stevie started off a little bit slow too. Now Stevie's might have been getting used to the other paddle, but like pickleball is not at the point yet. Now it's different if you're playing in a PPA event and you started on like the Wednesday where they're doing that one thing a day thing, right? And then Sunday you're tired. Okay, I can see you're tired Sunday, but then like recuperating and not playing again until like the next weekend or even 2 weekends later, you should be good to go. Right. So, but yeah, it just looked like he got himself a little bit frustrated. Now, whether that's like, okay, does, because we know Corey's basically the player coach. Does Corey need to just call a time and say, hey, relax, relax, or does Ryan need to say, hey, relax, or Stella or Serena or whoever is going to be the team captain needs to recognize that and be that calming influence, because when Preston is on, him and Ryan
it's
are almost
locked in his. Yeah,
almost unstoppable, and he's almost unstoppable regardless if he's playing with Serena or Stella.
yeah,
Right? Like it's so yeah, that's what I noticed with that. So yeah, they went 4-2. Like I said, probably like I'm gonna say the loss in the tiebreaker against the Lions, that could have gone either way. So realistically, in my opinion, they should have went 5-1 because they probably should have finished off and won 3-1 versus
correct.
Toronto
Yeah,
United.
and,
And like I said, Toronto United executed their game plan. They forced that tiebreak, and then they won that tiebreak. I'm not taking anything. Two things can be true at the same time. I think the Smash let that game get away from them, and Toronto United also noticed it was getting away from them, and then took advantage of that, executed, and then pulled out the tiebreak.
agreed.
Right. So I'm basically commenting on that, and I don't want to take anything away from Toronto United for getting that win as well.
Yeah. At the same time, I want to point out, for some reason, there's none of the CNPL result has been actually entered in Duper.
I wonder if they're waiting for the year end, because I know Duper is.
Usually Duper is like on
Oh
the
no,
clock,
like that.
right?
Well, it depends on what system they're entering it in, though, because whether you have to manually upload it or
Yeah,
whatever.
I don't know, because like remember the minor league in at the YEG has this little problem of the Switch tournament app has difficulty to connect into the Duper or something like that, and Sean has to figure tweak it out in order to make it in. I don't know, but I was looking on Duper because I was looking for Preston if he had played other tournaments beforehand. I was like, oh, there's none of the tournaments has been entered. And I'll like, let me confirm if another player. I just pick up Christina Chin because she's on my favorite list. So I just click on it. I was like, no, none of the Christina's play has been entered since like April. I was like, ooh, interesting.
Yeah, right. So I'm interested to see, maybe we'll give Yui or Mike a shout on Messenger or whatever, and see if they can clarify if that's going in, or if they're waiting for like the end of the season and then uploading
Yeah,
everything up, right? So
that could be it too. I'll say we'll see if I give that rent also at the same time for Duper. For everyone that's listening is checking their Duper all the time. Be careful now, because now they actually have a lot of pop-ups and commercial, and even some we call spam, or even phishing spam in there. And then a lot of people I saw on the Reddit is now talking about it, because Duper is now trying to push for you
the
subscribe
Duper
to the
Plus, yeah.
Duper Plus in order to get rid of those commercials. So and it's making a big stir right now. People is getting frustrated about that and everything. So I'll say, if you're logging into your Duper, be careful. Do not click on those commercials.
Yeah. All right. And then moving on, of course, to the Lions. So lost their very first game in really it was a good match regardless, but the Brewers came out and took it to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then won the tiebreak. So like I don't like Stevie started a little slow the game, and you could tell she was frustrated with her play. Because even the commentators were commenting on it, saying, "Oh, Stevie needs to like shake that off and relax herself."
Yeah,
So
I
they
can't
could
I
clearly
can't
see
the
that she
feel.
was frustrated with something,
Yeah,
and I'm
I have a
thinking it was getting used to
feeling.
the paddle.
Yeah, that's how I felt. Like, she's like, "Whoa, what?" Like a lot of like reactions, like, "Oh, what was that?" And like, it's not popping to where she wanted, or what was not resetting what she wanted. So I think that could be a reason. I don't know.
Yeah. And then, but yeah, after that loss, they locked back in. They had to win another tiebreak, but then after that, 3-1, 3-1, 4-0. And until you get to Sunday, where the final game against the Smash, you could see
Yeah.
the food poisoning take effect on Ernesto. So because I think everyone thought, oh, this is going to be another, battle of the powerhouses like the first game was, where it went to the tie break. And then, of course, you find out Ernesto's got food poisoning, and that Charles wasn't able to sub in play. So, of course, he toughs it out the first two games. And then you could just see he was just totally drained by that last game. The men's team got spanked pretty decently in that final game, and then of course him and Ann lose, and he had to take a really long. I want to say they used both timeouts and the medical timeout for him to go. I don't know if he went and hurled in the bathroom, but he definitely went to the locker room, worrying about passing out and stuff, and then came back, tried to finish the game off. They still scored 16 points and only lost 21-16.
Yeah, it's still pretty reasonable, to be honest.
Yeah, right. So, but with Jess and Stella winning the women's match, and then of course Ernesto and LC not being able to pull that out, and then losing that one, they were already down 3-0. Now LC and Stevie did come in and beat Preston and Stella 21-14 for a pretty convincing win, at least for a point differential standpoint. Only lose 3-1 and not get swept. But the Lions still look as dominant as ever. The women didn't look like Stevie and Ann didn't look as dominant as they did at the central split. Like they looked a little bit more gettable this time. Mm-hmm. Even their win percentage wasn't as good. Like if I pull up their win percentage at the Eastern split. So now Stevie was still pretty good at 66% win percentage, so everyone played 12 matches there because there was only the 4 starters. Stevie won 8. Anne only won 6, so Anne went to 50, and of course if we remember last event, she won 10 of 12.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so that's a big drop off for Anne, but that's also her and Ernesto losing on that second day. I think they lost. Did they lose every mixed match?
No, they won. Wait, let me check.
I'm pulling up my games right now. Oh no, they did win when they beat Charles United. They won. And
they also won. They also also won with Ernesto against the Brewers.
Yeah, right. So it's because they swept the Brewers. Yeah, So yeah, it was basically that it was the women's pairing that lost a couple because they went 3 for 6 there, and then Ann and Ernesto went 3 for 6 in mixed, right? So not as strong. But I will say, LC Luis Charles picked it up, and he went 9 for 12, going 5 for 6 with Stevie in mixed, and then him and Ernesto going 4 for 6. So 75% win percentage there for him,
which is really high,
right? So, so basically, if you throw in the food poisoning thing, they still might have went 4-2, because I'm not chalking up that first loss to the Brewers because we know there was no food poisoning. That was just a really good match. The Brewers played insanely well and pulled out the win. Once you go to tiebreaker, it could be anyone's game, and the Brewers have some really good singles players.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right. So and that match could go either way. I'm chalking up to the loss to the Smash at the end, and even some of the in game, even though they won, the in-game losses that they had on the Sunday. Chalking it up to the food poisoning stuff. Now, like I said, it took them tiebreak to beat the Smash last time, so I would have expected at least another tiebreak or a little bit closer of a couple, at least the men's match for sure, and maybe the Ernesto and Ann versus Ryan and Jess match.
Yeah, it's just tough. They could have gone almost 5-1, but that food poisoning is definitely not helping, and they still pull off 4-2, which is very respectable.
Yeah, and that finishes them with 10-2, a 10-2 record. So the final records for the weekend. So Lions go 4-2, Smash go 4-2. I honestly think the Smash should have went 5-1. If they would have executed a couple of those ones where they were at the freeze, and then Toronto United and Brewers go 2-4. And like we said, with the Toronto United, they were mix matching lines a little bit too much. I
Yeah.
said, come the Metro split, I want to see some lines locked in a little bit more for them,
Yes.
because when they use the lines that in my opinion, if they use the lines I think they should use, because those lines
Hmm.
have shown success. I
Yeah.
think that if they don't win, it's going to be like tiebreak, or all those games are going to be like 21-20, 21-19 type of thing,
Yeah.
right? Like it's always a chance to win,
Hmm.
right? Same thing with the Brewers. It's like they went 2-4. Now someone's got to lose some of the games, but like they were right there a couple of times where if they had won one more match, or or pulled out that spot where they were in the 20 at the freeze and just couldn't get that 21st points, they might have gone 3-3 or even 4-2 type of thing, right? So like really tight matches. So final records for the teams after so it's total season record now. Lions are 10-2, the Smash are 7-5, Toronto United is 6-6, and then the Brewers are 4-8.
Hmm.
Right. So we'll have to wait for the Western split next month to see how everything plays out as far as standings going into the Metro, because of course the West teams all have 6 games to kind of catch up.
Hmm.
Now the Lions we know are going to be in first regardless, because no team in the West can catch them right now. Excuse me. Because the highest team in the West right now is the Owls at 3-3. So even if they go 6-0, they're only going to be 9-3.
Hmm.
Right. So the Lions have first place locked up at least until the Metro.
Yeah.
Smash can possibly get leapfrogged. Toronto United can possibly get leapfrogged. The Brewers obviously can possibly get leapfrogged with the records that they have. But then you have the Metro where you play the West teams again to see if you can get yourself up into some of those higher carriers. I need to check with Mike and Yui and them to see what the playoff format's going to be like. Because if it's like it was last year, where first and second get a bye,
Yeah.
you're
That's a
gonna
big.
see you're gonna see some of those teams really fight for that advantage. And like I said, right now, like the Lions, if they can get that advantage, then you're sitting there pretty. You don't have to play the first day of championship weekend, right? You
Hmm.
let the other teams battle it out, and then they have to face you. Now, if they change
Exactly.
the format up, because in the previous 2 years, the formats changed both times. For the first year, they just did a 1 versus 8 regular playoff bracket.
Yeah.
So 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 and 5 face off, right? Last year they did kind of like 1 and 2 get a bye. The other teams play kind of a bracket.
Round robin.
A round robin. 2 teams get eliminated, and then the other teams play a bracket then.
And that's which is significant. If you play round robin, basically it's a full day of rest.
Right, yeah. So if you get a bye from that, yeah, if they do the round robin format again with the play in, um, those 2 spots where you can just sit there and then you can sit there and scout the other team and say, okay, who's on this weekend? Who's not
Hmm.
on? What is someone having problems with, right? So it's a massive advantage with that.
Hmm.
But yeah, other than that, the games were like aside from that very last game where Ernesto was clearly not feeling good, all the
Yes.
games were really, really, really good. Super high competitive. Like we said, there was 1 or 2 like where maybe an individual match was a blowout, but not the entire. Like even though there was sweeps, it was never all 4 matches were blowouts. There was always at least a 21-20 or a 21-19, or the teams were
Definitely
like,
very good.
tied up at like 17 apiece, and then one team went on a final run to finish it off. So
Very good quality of play. And
yeah,
Ernesto, don't go to a seafood restaurant before the next day.
apparently he's gone to that restaurant all the time. It's one of his favorites, and that's the first time he's ever gotten sick from it. So
Well, but maybe he should learn the lessons.
don't eat raw food before you play, I guess. As much as I love sushi, right? So but but yeah, so by far once again, the split shows us that this is by far the highest level of pickleball we've had in this league. In comparison to the previous years, it just keeps getting better and better and better. Um,
Should we say about the Pronghorns news?
yeah, I was about to lead into that. So yeah, so up next is going to be the Western split, and that is going to be on July 19th and 20th. Now, the Pronghorns on like Monday announced that they are releasing Jacob from their team. Jacob has because the Western split changed, because originally it was supposed to be August 9th and 10th, and then it switched to July 19th and 20th. Jacob already had prior commitments. He's competing in the APP Next Kansas City event on that.
The next gen, basically they call that APP Next Gen.
Yeah, right. So he's competing with that. So because of that, the Pronghorns are releasing him, and they're picking up Mark Gottfried, who, for those of you who remember it, played on Toronto United the last 2 years in a row, was part of that championship-winning team in the inaugural season, and is a regular doubles partner of Carolina Hack, and also played with Chris Allain last year, because they both played for Toronto United last year, right? So you already have some built-in chemistry by bringing Mark in.
Yeah.
Right. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because and that's going to be at IHOP in Burnaby as well in BC. So, and like we said, just going to be the 4 West teams playing. So you got the Pronghorns, you got the Owls, you got the Northern Lights, and you got the Detroit Windsor Drive playing in that one. So it's going to be interesting to see who can kind of become the best team in the West, and see if they can try to at least catch some ground on the Lions, or see if they can fight their way up, because aside from the Owls, who went 3-3, everybody else was at 2-4 after the central split, right? So everyone is roughly in the same boat there. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes on top with that one. So stay tuned for that one, guys, because that's going to be some great matches as well. It's going to be interesting to see as well, Mark coming in, because I'm going to assume they're going to start with him and Brad playing together. And then I wonder, do you have him play with Antoinetta, who was really solid for the Pronghorns at the central split, or do you go with the known success of him and Carolina gets a little bit more play time this time? Because like I said, I didn't think they utilized her properly at the last split.
She got traded like very last minute, so
I
guess there's no even time to practice, versus now they technically have a little much more time to figure out, okay, what's the pairing in anything. But we'll see. We'll see if it's an upgrade or downgrade. We don't know until we see that match playing. But it's too bad for Jacob, because like it at first not really conflicting with his schedule, but now like it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly, and it happens. He's not the first player to be dropped. It happened to Jeff Elwood last year. It happened to Antoinetta last year as well with the Lions, right? So that's the thing with pro sports, right? It's if you're not available, even if it's out of your control that you're not available, they're gonna try to floor the team that they think they can win with, right? So
yeah.
Unless you're the Lions, where they only play 4 people all the time, right?
Yeah, so. Exactly. You're like, well, they're the exception to all of this, right? Anyway.
Yeah. Well, and right now, right now so far it almost looks
proving
like
they're right.
It's proof of concept, because it worked last year for them, and this year so far it's working for them with the 10-2 record, right? So.
And at the same time, just for a parallel, obviously I always watch the MLP in the States. Most of the team in the MLP that has a solid win records are using only their starters too.
Yeah, exactly, right. So So it's gonna be fun to see. I'm super looking forward to the Western split. Unfortunately, me and Vic won't be able to attend that one. Burnaby is really far away from where we live. Everyone always forgets how vast Canada actually is, even though we're in the neighboring province. But it's still, if I were to drive there, it's still a 12-hour drive for me to get to Burnaby. Right?
Yes, a good 17, I think, for me, or whatever.
Yes,
I don't know.
Something like that. And plus, because the other reason also, because of the change in dates, I wasn't able to get that weekend off, to the point where Vic is actually playing with my wife Irene in a tournament in Spruce Grove, because I can't guarantee myself the time off. So
yeah.
So
too bad.
So Vic's
Anyway,
lucky he gets a really strong female partner for that 4-5 or for that 4-5 open division. So,
yes, that'll be
but
fun. Fun for me.
yeah. So
Suck for Andrew.
so if I it's the thing that's gonna bug me is if I end up getting the day off, I'm gonna be annoyed. I'd almost rather be
You can
working.
cheer me. You can cheer
Well,
us
no, I
on.
cheer you guys on, right? But like realistically, I might not be able to leave Peace River because I'm going to be on call, right? So
Oh,
it's
yeah, that's true. That's
it's
true.
just one of the things. So like if I have the day off and then I'm just sitting at home and I'm like, oh, this sucks. It's so
We'll,
so it's
we'll,
good.
I would live stream it
Yeah, exactly.
just to annoy Andrew a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. I expect a gold medal though out of you too. So
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully,
right. So
we'll do our best.
yeah.
There's some solid team there, too.
All right, so that's pretty much it for this one, guys. We will have some another podcast coming up probably in 2 weeks where we're going to cover the minor league pickleball because, of course, it happened in IPOP this weekend as well. We're going to save that so we can talk about that with the other IPOP announcements because there's at least two more events already announced that are going to be in Quebec. Super excited about that. We need another one in Alberta really soon here because I want to keep my standing.
Well, apparently, just talking to Sean, he's have nothing planned till this summer and even fall. So I don't know. We'll see.
Oh my God.
Well, it's okay. I'll try to convince him.
Yeah, I need at least one more. I don't need to be leapfrogged that much. Come on, I'm in the top. I'm in the sorry. Once it updates from Mega Courts, because right now, if you look on their socials, because they posted a couple of days ago, me and Irene are ranked 3 and 4 in the Deeper 20 category. Now that's of May 15th, and of course we did the Mega Courts, but we're still going to be, I want to say, if not top 10, top 15 after that Mega Courts event.
Yeah.
So I know Jacob will hop us, Ava will hop us, Bradley will hop us, and stuff like that. But I think anyone else, I don't think is going to end up hopping us in that thing. So I think we'll probably be like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 around that area after the Mega Courts one gets updated. But that's still really good. So
definitely.
But yeah, I definitely need at least one more event that I want to try and at least podium this time, which would be nice. So
yeah.
But other than that, the next tournament for me and Irene is going to be the Spruce Grove season opener.
In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, yeah. Irene will be getting back from the UK because she's in the UK now, just helping out her niece with a couple things. So I'm doing the solo dad thing right now. Which so that's the one blessing with the smoke right now, and the oil prices being a little bit finicky is that my job that relies on the oil field for what I do, I haven't had to work as much, so I've been able to do actually make dinner and stuff like that for the kids, and not just doing the cop out and getting them Subway every night. So, but
oh my God, I don't know if your kids when they grow up they gotta go eat Subway. I don't know, just thinking.
Well, as someone who so for those of you who may be new to the podcast, so me and Irene own a couple Subway restaurants. I started off working there as a kid. In high school and then working my way through college, got an opportunity to do a co-own thing with someone who basically supplied the money, and then me and Irene were like the people who went and ran the store. We ended up buying those partners out later, but I basically worked at Subway for 19 years straight, right?
Wow.
And everyone's like, oh, don't you get sick of that? And I'm like, it goes in waves. Because the funny thing is when we would go for vacation, like say if we went to the Philippines to visit family, or if we went and did because my parents have a timeshare in Mexico, if we go for like a family thing to Mexico, about 4 days into that trip, I'm craving a sub. So,
wow.
It just has been such an embedded part of my diet for the longest time, whether it's a sub, a wrap, a salad, or whatever. It's almost like your body's like, okay, you haven't had this, we want it now, type of thing, right? So that's the little funny story with that. I'm now obviously working with a CJCSM as a wellhead inspector now, but and like I said, that's an on-call job. So for that, it takes you have to book your time off. I don't get as much time off because obviously same thing. I'm not in charge. I'm not making the schedule. Whereas when I was working with Irene Subway, I was the manager. I could make the schedule. So if something came up, like for example with the Western Split, where there's a change in dates, for me to go in and switch dates around with staff is a lot easier than with this, where I have to put in time off requests, right? And then of course
that's true.
other people already have that weekend off, so it doesn't work the same way. So
yeah,
but yeah, so we got the season opener coming up. After that, for me and Irene,
well, you have the national probably.
Well, nationals in August that we're doing. I did find a partner because my original partner had to back out for men, so I did find another partner for the 19th for the round robin. And I'm actually bumped up into the 30 plus category now, so I don't have to play Ernesto and Matt, which is it's kind of like a bittersweet thing. I'm like, yay, I have a chance at maybe medaling. But two, I was like, I kind of wanted to do that litmus test and see how far off I was, right? So but still looking for a partner for the men's 4.5 brackets on the 22nd, I believe it is. There's a couple of people who I've either played against or will be playing against. There's actually someone going to nationals that I'll actually be playing against at the season openers. So who knows, if we like how each other plays as opponents, maybe I'll just say, hey, do you want to team up for that event? Type of thing. So Irene's already got me for mixed. She's got Anya for women's. And I think they bumped themselves up into at least for the one event, they bumped themselves up into the open. They originally were playing the 4-5, but then they looked at who was in there. And it's like, yeah, it's a guaranteed medal, but it's not as fun of a challenge. So they're bumping themselves up into the open. So they'll be playing against some of the pro players for that. So that'll be fun.
Yep, definitely.
And other than that, Irene's playing with Vic on that July. I don't think I have another tournament aside from those two, because of course I couldn't get the one off for that.
Unless you want to play at that Red Deer Open. I don't know.
Oh yeah, the Red Deer Open on because what's that, August 9th and 10th?
Yeah, that was the one that you actually took day off.
Yeah, well, because I ended up canceling that day off request and to try and get the other one, but so I would technically have to re-request it. Is there more people signed up? Because originally when I looked for, at least for my division, there was nobody signed up.
I haven't checked much, but it's still into the 130, something like that.
Oh yeah, and that usually is like at least a 300 plus tournament. So we'll see, because their registration is open for a while. So we'll see if more people sign. But I know there was nobody in the men's 4-5, and there was like nobody in the women's 4-5.
Well, usually they wait a lot of players wait till the last minute to sign up anyway.
Yeah, I know there's one in like Sherwood Park coming up.
Oh yeah, there's one in Sherwood Park right after the one being airing play at the Summer Smash.
Yeah,
but even so, that one,
I think there's a decent. I think the men's one is full, and then the mixed one, it's not a big pool. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But
it's more difficult because they don't have that much court neither, too.
Yeah, exactly right. So they probably cap it. But yeah, so other than that, everyone, so we'll keep our finger on the pulse. I'll keep scrolling all the socials and stuff. I'll probably bug Yui and Mike a little bit more for some info. We do have to message Emily and make sure she gives us the spectator code for the Kirkland the Montreal MILP stuff. So yeah, our next podcast will cover MILP in Canada. There will probably be some more news out of the States and stuff. If we have more news with CNPL, of course, if there's more roster changes or trades, because this is now that there's been at least 2 splits done. Don't be surprised if you maybe see a couple trades happen or a few teams try to solidify a couple more roster spots, whether they're dropping someone, picking someone else up. Might not see something until after the Western split, but this is the time of the year where you start to see that happen a little bit more. So,
definitely.
But other than that, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell all your friends about the podcast. Let's get that follower count up. Anything else to add, Vic?
No, nothing yet. Still figuring out my equipment podcast, but it's coming along.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to go onto the CNPL YouTube channel and check out those matches if you didn't get a chance to see them. And they're really good. They've been really good lately at posting individual matches and posting little highlight packets as well this year. So tune in for that.
Definitely. See you everyone. Hope to see you soon.